All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And of course, we're here for Psychopath.
Episode 6.
Episode 6. We are coming off the high of the awesome episode last week.
Yeah.
So,
tough act to follow.
Tough act to follow. Yeah. I'm thinking they need to develop a little bit more of some of the side characters. They seem to be fitting into that, kind of slotting the show's... This is that part in the show where we get those side characters developed.
And those can be some of the best parts of a show. So.
Yeah, but we literally have no development for people like Kagari or Kunizuka. Or
Kunizuka. See,
Kunizuka. I got it right the first time.
Yeah.
That's the problem. They haven't interacted so much that we barely remember their names.
Like, have we seen her speak since the first episode?
Well, it wasn't the first episode where they showed up. This was like the second one. Oh, no, you're right. It was the first episode. It was the first episode. You're right. All right, guys. Other than that, we've got some theory doing, but we'll save that until the end of the episode. So without further ado, let's get into it. Ominous.
Yeah.
What is your current location? Campfire Town 4, Sasayama.
Kogami.
Backstory time.
Where could he have gone off to? Calm down, Kogami. Things are getting out of control. Come back for now. I'm bringing Sasayama back.
Did he... Whoa. Did his psychopath go up because he was trying to save someone?
Return of the Psychotic Prince.
Okay.
Due to her inexperience, she acts unprofessionally a little too often. But she's still an excellent employee. I think she has a bright future.
Well, I certainly hope that's true. Of course, there's always a chance she could wind up going down the path of your former partner. Started same year as you.
Yes, Chief.
You inspectors have very demanding jobs. Even as you face the deviant and distorted minds of all of those criminals and
That
forces,
pause.
you must maintain the unyielding spirit needed to pursue your duties.
She's very quickly becoming one of the most interesting characters for me.
Ginoza, a causal relationship between genes and crime coefficients, as of yet, still hasn't been scientifically proven. Though just to be clear, that also means that it hasn't been disproven yet either. I hope that you don't make the same mistake as your father. I hope it with every beat of my heart.
What?
Keep that in mind.
Genes relating to crime coefficients? That's bullcrap.
She never told her love, but let concealment like a worm in the butt. Are you in literature class right now? Yes, we're studying Twelfth Night by Shakespeare. Shakespeare's comedies are boring. You don't like his work? I do like his tragedies, especially Macbeth and Titus Andronicus. So those two are the interesting ones, huh? Not only are they interesting, but they're especially cruel.
That'd be crazy if they had the police have to go after kids.
Hey! Regular life.
Yep.
As an inspector, you're authorized.
Yeah, but if I access those files, Mr. Kogami will find out.
Is it that you don't want him to know? Or is it that you're seriously concerned about Kogami?
Pinball.
Are you in love?
She just lost.
Yep.
Have you ever been in love?
Let me put it like this, Akane. I'm way more experienced in life than you. And not just when it comes to love. I've done all
Even though you
kinds of
can't leave the
bad
building.
things. I've ventured into a world so depraved that a wholesome girl like you wouldn't even be able to imagine it.
Really?
For instance, this.
You mean juice?
Not juice. It's booze. Real alcohol. Old Masaoka gave some to me. These days, people are afraid of getting addicted to it. So they stick to safe therapeutic tripping or go virtual, you know?
Whoa.
That's for drinking? Not for breathing fire?
Huh?
Never mind.
Well, this is the kind of party fun that is now our privilege and, dare I say it, our duty to enjoy.
I see.
Yeah, alcohol could be a problem.
Of course it is. This is real cooking.
If you have no
Hey, those
inhibitions,
cans are only for people who
your
are
psychopath
drinking.
could spike.
Fair.
You're more than welcome to try some, though. If you get me drunk, I may start talking about all sorts of things.
Casual flirting from Kagari. Wow, I still don't know his name yet.
Okay, see, the thing is, by the time I came along and joined the unit, Ko had already been stripped of his inspector title. So I don't really know all the details. What I heard is...
She's interrogating him.
An enforcer who was under his command at the time getting killed.
How was he killed?
Well, he was chasing down a suspect, but the tables turned and he became a victim. If I'm remembering right, his name was Sasayama. He was killed the same way as the other victims. From what I hear, it was all pretty gruesome.
Ooh.
The whole thing really messed Ko up bad and caused his crime coefficient to shoot up. The case may have never been solved, but Ko refuses to give up on it. Stubborn guy is still investigating it to this day.
Serial killer, potentially Makishima.
Now tell me, how is it you're okay after drinking so much?
She hasn't been.
I haven't been drinking anything.
Well, maybe you just get drunk way too easily.
Enforcers.
Oh.
There's no way I could forget the specimen case, even if I tried.
Specimen case?
Yeah, that was how we all referred to the investigation. Akane, you've heard of plastination?
It's a process that they use to create biological specimens, right?
Yeah, it's a technique for preserving tissue. Water and fat are replaced by polymers. But in a specimen case, it was used to commit murder. First, the killer dismembered and cleaved open the body, then used plastination to turn it into a human specimen. They brought their handiwork right into the middle of town and displayed it under a holographic illumination in the entertainment.
Oh.
What?
Thousands of passers-by thought they were just looking at ordinary environment hollow, but the truth was, they were walking right past the mutilated cadaver hiding underneath it. When people found that out, the area stress jumped up 4 levels. It was so bad they imposed
Psychopath terror.
Sorry, guess being on the fast track gets bumpy.
I'm glad these three are back together.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Not having them just be, one-time side characters.
So does this have something to do with that loose cannon you work with? I feel like I just can't get a read on him, you know? And then, to make things even more confusing, I just found out he used to have my job.
Wait, don't tell me this dude used to be some kind of honor student too. Did everybody but me and Yuki score a 700?
He's, like, super smart.
This is just a thought,
Yeah?
but could it be the problem is that you two are too much alike?
Leave it to a best friend to go exactly to the problem.
Yep.
Sorry, it's urgent. I gotta go.
Hey, you can't leave. We just got here.
I'll make it up to you next time.
Another person doing art. Oh, that's
Yeah.
disturbing.
Yeah. I can see where this is going.
Thanks for coming.
It's like everyone has a crush on her.
Mm-hmm.
About your stepfather, Yoshika. Your mother's new husband. You're interested in my life? Yeah, of course. I've been watching you for a while now, you know. Oreo?
You gonna die.
Wow.
Would you like to hear some more about Shakespeare's work? Please.
Wow. This is intense. Hey.
Millions of things
Hello.
that we humans are capable of, but animals are not. One of those things is safety control. No matter what we create, humans always put a safety mechanism on it. Enforcers are equipped with a safety mechanism in the form of inspectors. And the drones you controlled were furnished with their own set of rigorous security measures. Those drones were supposed to be absolutely safe, and yet this memory card made them kill people. Where did you obtain it? Mito may have been overly obsessed with social networks, but he didn't possess the skills necessary to tamper with public
Wow,
knowledge.
so do we have a hacker
There's no
villain?
mistaking
Oh.
the fact that Kanahara and Mito were both being backed by a professional cyber criminal.
There you go.
Testimony from Kanahara isn't gonna help us any now, is it?
I swear, it was just sent to me in the mail one day, clear out of the blue. The letter wasn't signed. signed, there was no name on it. All it said was he had a grudge against the factory, so he wanted us to destroy it together.
Pretty vicious. Seems this person will kill for kicks.
How could whoever sent that letter have predicted that Kanahara would be open to killing in the first place?
Why not? Pops had Kanahara figured out just by looking at the staff's periodic checkups.
Mm-hmm.
Surely someone else could have done the same thing.
Sure.
It's not like those evaluation files were kept confidential.
That's true.
What's this guy's motive for helping Mito?
It was Kanahara and Mito who had the motives, and that would be more than enough of a reason for him.
Kogami?
Intent and means. Engineering a crime by bringing together those two otherwise disparate elements. That's how he plays his game.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, oh, here he goes again.
Yep.
We're gonna have a talk.
Kogami, you can't keep...
Gino, it's the same case. Someone out there is providing the means to people who have the desire to kill but don't know how. Turning these wannabes into actual murderers.
Stop and think this through. Back then they used a resin, but this time it was a tool for cracking programs. There's no connection.
The engineer and the middleman are two different people. There's somebody who brings them together. Those who wish to kill and those who can create the weapons they need to pull it off. That's the real mastermind.
Enough of this. You've been chasing a damn ghost. One that may never have existed.
Sasayama was on the verge of a breakthrough. I'll settle this score for him. That's what I've been working towards for 3 years.
That was heavy.
Yeah.
What the hell? Whoa, that's creepy. Is that a doll?
Oh.
Looks like some kind of art project or something.
Maybe. Whatever it is, it's in poor taste. It's gross. Who did this?
Is that a real person?
Yeah.
You know, when you get up close, it looks pretty damn real. Such detail. Still, I don't think I'd want that on display anywhere in my house.
And how does she manage to do this when they're in a cloistered area?
The means. She's getting the means.
Oh,
for
right.
support. Yeah.
Curious. Do you think Lavinia was
Kashima.
happy at last?
Yep.
Finally liberated from her violated body?
It's like Saturnina says in Act 5 just before Titus kills her, because the girl should not survive her shame and by her presence still renew his sorrows. Is that right, Mr. Makishima?
Even
Wow.
beautiful flowers eventually wither and fall. It's a fate that meets all living things one way or another. Knowing
Wow.
that sad fact, it's only natural to want to stop time, preserving the blossom while still in full bloom. But if you did truly love the girl as though she were your own daughter, do you believe that you too will be moved to say, "Killed her for whom my tears have made me blind," as Titus was?
Oh, that might be a problem for me. Because I have many more works of art that I wish to complete in the days that lie ahead. I'm just getting started.
Okay.
So has the episodic cycle broken?
I think so.
That was...
I'm guessing that's a two-parter, or at least I'm hoping it's a two-parter, because
They might be moving into a linear fashion now.
yeah, what?
So
Okay.
I do have some questions, though, whenever they do something that's this extreme.
Right. Yes.
Because they're in a cloistered area. Now, maybe they were just saying that they don't actually get their psychopaths checked because they're just in a set area. But even in the place where they were making the drones, they still got their psychopaths checked.
They get hue checks, I think.
Right. But the point is, how in the heck would someone like that be able to do their thing that maliciously? And
They're a true psychopath or something. Maybe they maybe they have no emotion. Like, not like no emotion, but they feel nothing about it. It's completely
right.
Like
It's
they're
just
so casual.
It's the same as if them doing their painting. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
There's also the element to where she is. This girl is so manipulative and so charismatic in her approach that these girls are probably wanting to do this.
I get the feeling there's probably a point where they don't want to, though.
I get the feeling, actually, Jacob, that there's going to be some kind of drugs involved.
Okay.
At the very end. But all the way up until the drugs, I'm guessing, no, they do actually want to do it.
Dang. Well.
But, jeez, that was disturbing. Because
yeah,
one of the things I found this show to be hinting at is that they have an antagonist that has no moral code, really.
Not that.
So he's not limited by it in any way. But he also seems to be working via proxy. So all the things that are being done, he technically doesn't have to dirty his hands with it. So maybe he justifies it that way.
Sure.
But
he's letting people be free to do what they choose.
Right. But what this puts a picture in my mind is some kind of someone who's thinking of people as things in a scientific trial. And and is basically testing to see, what people do under very specific circumstances. And then I can't see the approach to which he takes this towards some kind of goal, because my idea was that he's some kind of idealist. Now I'm getting actually a different vibe, that he's actually some kind of philosophical realist who's looking at the world and going, yeah, it's not great.
What he's doing is the end in and of itself, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah. Although, but that's too small scale.
It is
because
too
they
small
can't
scale.
They can't progress that.
Correctly.
Yeah, it doesn't escalate.
Wow.
Which makes you wonder what kind of end game he might have if this is what he's doing day to day.
I get the feeling also that he finds specific individuals interesting, and so he gives them the resources to foster their deviance. Within the system. So everyone that's been involved within the system thus far has some kind of reason as to why they dislike it. And we got in very direct exposition what the girl at the school's reason was. She told it to the girl as she was working her charms on her.
Yeah.
On the other. But this element with Kogami. So Makishima obviously is the one who's behind everything.
Yeah.
There's no question about that. But his connection to the person who was using some kind of a polymer / what do they call it, plastination? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Makes me almost think that this girl that he was with was involved in that somehow.
Right, but
it was 3 years ago. That was 3 years ago. So I still think it could be possible.
Yeah.
But do you sense any kind of familial connection between Makishima and this girl? I can see there being some, like a younger sister.
Possibly a younger sister or a daughter.
Or something. Daughter, no, she's too old to be a daughter, I think.
Okay.
Makishima is being portrayed by a character that looks a little bit young.
Right, somewhere in his early 30s or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that ambiguous age where it's hard to tell. So I don't think he would have a daughter that's in the teens.
Okay.
It's possible.
They were definitely hinting at family when they had that earlier comment from the police director or whatever to Inspector Frick. Ginoza, yeah. Talking about his dad. That
I heard you say, like, you instantly put that older lady kind of director person within the PSB as being one of the most interesting characters just by her presence. How does that even work? Why do you say that?
Because, so since there are established issues with the civil system, right? That means that anyone who's higher up in the system is probably more aware of it, and maybe doesn't care or is one of the people propagating that system.
Sure.
So the fact that she's and then on top of that, she mentioned that the psychopaths can be inherited by genes. But she specifically said, there's no research to support this, but I've got my eye on you, right?
Yeah, well, what I hear is that the Sybil system is about to take a big leap in its stages of it's about to evolve into something scarier, where they start preemptively marking people's psychopaths a little bit more precisely based on their DNA.
Sure.
Which gets... Like, you can go straight from that. I mean, you can go straight from there to death camps. Like,
yes.
Like that. Like, that's where it gets really scary.
Right, and the big precursor to that would be either having it by genes or, in tandem with that, some way so that they can be calculating it in real time no matter where you are. Right?
I don't think so.
Well,
I think that requires way more infrastructure.
Well, okay, yes, absolutely. But the big problem they've had with the Psychopath system and all that so far, because if they had it all the time, there would basically be no crime, right?
Right.
So the problem that it's had so far is that they don't always know what someone's psychopath is.
Right, because it's not 1984, Jacob. They don't have a device scanner in every nook and cranny of everyone's room and house and everything like that. They have, stuff to monitor most of civilized society, but it seems like you can hide in back alleyways, you can... hide in hotel rooms.
Yeah, if they essentially have them on, like, the traffic cameras.
Yeah,
for
exactly.
speeding,
I think they're looking at them in high traffic areas, essentially. Mm-hmm. Malls,
Sure.
Public areas and the like.
Right, but if it's... Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
but that's to an extent to give a little bit of a point in the Sybil system's favor, is that it's not as invasive as it could be.
That's true. That is true.
It's at a point where it's probably being handled a little bit better in that regard, because it would go almost full totalitarian in that respect, and there'd be too much power for the government to have.
Now,
so with that being said, the Sybil system might be taking an interesting step, but I feel that's kind of a drop as like a foreshadowing for where things are going in the future.
Yeah.
But this Kogami thing is a direct continuation of what they brought up in the previous episode.
Yes.
So they're really doubling down on the Kogami character development here.
Yeah.
But specifically the Ginoza and Kogami relationship.
Yes, which I'm happy for, because up till this point there wasn't a whole lot to make me like Ginoza.
Yes, they even brought up the whole thing with the father specifically in tandem with that, which to an extent actually gives me the feeling that Ginoza has a death flag or two now. I'm just saying, you have the the Akane new prodigy coming into the same position, potentially as a replacement.
Right.
Ginoza is probably looking for some kind of a promotion in some respect, but is being held back by the actions of his father, so is constantly like holding himself to a supremely high standard in order to perform better than his father.
Well, and maybe also the fact that his partner ended up, his psychopath went too high and he became an enforcer.
Right.
That's because that psychopaths have been shown to be sort of contagious. It might be something where maybe his psychopath isn't actually like
as perfect as he
as he would like it to be.
Yeah.
So maybe
whereas Akane's is just the perfect model citizen for whatever reason.
So could he be trying to dump off Kogami to her? That way he can distance himself from it.
Absolutely.
Let it clear up, and then...
But he's not able to. He's not able to do that, which makes me think... Like, I haven't seen any success with him kind of making moves to do that. That gives me the vibe that he's not going to be successful. He probably will die, and it won't happen immediately, but they're setting that up. At least, this is the first instance of death flags for Ginoza we've seen.
I could see a lot of people dying in this show, actually.
I could see a lot of people dying in this show, yeah, absolutely.
Like, the only one I can't really see dying is Akane. Like, I mean...
Really?
She could...
I could see everyone dying in this show. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, in fact, you know what? You're going to laugh at this, but the one person who I actually don't know how they're going to die, quote-unquote, is Mikashima. I've already seen a couple scenarios in my head where all the protagonists die. Of course, I almost know that Mikashima has to bite it at some point.
Yeah,
but
unless
I
he actually wins.
Yeah,
and that's why people like him so much.
Right?
As a villain.
I actually that's another aspect to it. is Makashima seems to be inhabiting the space where everything is done via proxy, but they also added in all this virtual reality and stuff, and I have already some crack theories about him getting put into the system itself. Like really, really crackpot theories.
Okay, we'll have to talk about those.
Yeah. I don't even think that's something we should talk about, because it's just not even based in reality. It's just a vibe I'm getting. Well, that's also something I've always wanted a villain to do. But anyway,
sure.
But the Kogami backstory.
Yes.
So he was dealing with a case that involved an enforcer getting close when he went to an unrelated case, which gives me the vibe that he got close to the girl at the school. Makashima did something that was unexpected and killed the enforcer because he got too close to home. That also gives me the familial vibe that Makashima protects this girl.
And the girl. Yeah.
What do you think?
The first time I saw Makashima and Kogami in that first part of the first episode, I was thinking that they were like ex-partners or something, because I was thinking like Spike and Vicious, right?
Sure.
Now, but then when Inspector Ginoza was introduced and we found out that him and Kogami were partners, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But then there's this mysterious enforcer that died.
Yep.
Now, I don't think they're going to do this. I don't want them to do this, because that's been done in a lot of like 10-cent cop movies. But what if Makashima was the enforcer that died, and that's his relation to the girl? She helped him disappear.
No, I don't want that to happen.
I don't either, but
if they execute it perfectly, then I'm okay with it.
Yeah,
but I don't see that kind of a thing going over well. I don't see that kind of thing being handled in a way that Psychopaths would
it's too predictable.
Be made better by. Yeah, exactly. It's not only too predictable, it's just kind of tacky. There's so many other ways you can do it. Yes. It also cheapens a little bit of Kogami's...
the idea. Yes, it absolutely does.
Whole thing, you know. Which, hey, they handle it well.
Then they handle it well.
Yeah. But what's with the really brutal... violent art displays? Now, do you see any connection to this being, like you said, some kind of psychopath terrorism?
Yes. So well, okay.
But
because I respect Psychopaths a lot as a show, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say that they're not just putting in gore and dark stuff for the sake of dark stuff. This isn't, like Kogami isn't an edgelord or anything like that, right? So.
And Makashima even doesn't seem to be.
Oh, definitely not.
No.
So
it's too intelligent.
So I think they're using the fact that psychopaths can be contagious to do horrible... Because, I mean, why else would they broadcast it on all the hologram stuff,
Well, no. What they said was the holograms were being used to... Oh, no, you're right. You're right.
So that would be the main reason for it, right? Maybe...
I thought they were using the hologram actually in a way to actually
hide it,
mask it a little bit.
Well, I think they were doing that too. They were hiding it like under a hologram, but then like
the hologram accented the art.
Yeah,
in some
or
way.
Whatever. I don't know.
That's actually really genius in a. I mean, it's sadistic and twisted, but it's genius.
Now, could it be that Makashima's motive is since he doesn't seem to have a specific goal or thing that he's trying to accomplish, but it's more of just doing more of what he has already been doing. Maybe it's something almost similar to the Joker, where he's wanting people to sort of accept that feral part of themselves almost.
Maybe. He does enjoy a lot of philosophy and poetry about human nature, and I think that's more of him being a scholar. He is someone that learns and enjoys learning for the sake of it. He does, in this episode, kind of revel in his own intelligence by asking I would say teacher-student questions. Like, he seemed to have that mentor role to the girl. I wish I knew her name in this episode, but
we can just call her the crazy person.
Well, see, here's the thing, Jacob. The show is called Psychopaths for a reason.
Yes.
And it's a reference to the word psychopaths.
Correct.
And I think one of the things that Makashima has as a plot point going forward at some point is that he's going to bring up the advantage a psychopath would have within the civil system.
Maybe he just has a psychopath of 0 all the time.
That's one of the things I've been theorizing is that he has something biologically natural within him, not some kind of augmentation or something like that, not some kind of hacker thing that makes him invisible. Oh, that's the most obvious thing.
Right.
I think that there's something to it where he sees human nature as being something that's stronger than the Sybil system, and he is playing with it, and he's using all these other people as being his studies, his case studies.
If that were true, and he just wasn't affected by the Psychopath's Sybil system and all that,
right,
then he could see himself as being a truly free human.
Right.
And maybe, in fact, what he's trying to do is, again, he's trying to spread that freedom to other people. Right?
Right. And in a way, if people react in a violent way, or they react in a way that doesn't fit to pass the test, they failed. But what I think he's doing in this regard is he's actually recruiting people. He's finding those people
and it's
do
the rite of
fit.
passage.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And all these people that he's working with so far, like how they said that Mito was the current favorite, they're all his favorites. They're all his little pupils, his disciples. He's got that cult leader kind of magnetism, and it's mirrored also in this girl and her really seductive, magnetic charisma that she had over the women there. And while hers seem to be a little bit domineering, Makashima seems to be laid back and seems to be more matured. Right. And I think that's what we're going to end up liking about Makashima, is that he is intelligent, like Kogami and Akane. He's intelligent like the Psychopath team, but he is not domineering in his approach.
Right. And
he is a learner. He is someone who is evolving himself. And
when,
that's interesting.
And when it doesn't appear that someone is exerting themselves excessively, that tends to make them seem all the more badass and cool, because they're just going with it. They know they're going to win.
To an extent, it's a nice call out to Akane, because Akane has the perfect Psychopath score. And I think that could be brought up in the future as a thing where Makashima's like, you interest me.
Right.
Let's poke around in your brain. And that's where I think this show is going to get really dark, is it's not going to be all this violent art, displayed. It's going to be when it gets personal and Makashima starts testing them each psychologically.
Okay.
And Akane, he'll be basically putting it on himself to see if she's actually worth it in some respect.
I could see that happening. Yeah,
I think in a way he might have been testing Kogami already. Right. And Kogami broke, so Kogami's not worth it.
Which would probably make Kogami even more upset that the guy the guy basically just was like, no, almost dismissed him,
Have you ever thought, this is slightly off topic, but have you ever thought about him saying if Psychopath's scores are contagious, what it means to be really close to Akane? Does that mean that Akane can pull someone out of the darkness just as much as someone else can get pulled into the darkness by being around someone with a
that would very much make sense
score?
And it's been backed up by the fact that they have created these separate societies to try and make that happen.
Well, whether or not how successful those are, it's probably a law of large numbers, in that eventually there's one there it's not going to work, but in most cases it does work.
Exactly. Otherwise they wouldn't have been established.
Yeah. It's not like they were all made yesterday, they were
exactly
for a while.
And and if Akane is that sort of a balancing thing, one, it will work amazingly with Kogami with the whole dual main character thing that they have going on.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, potentially.
Yeah. Potentially, yeah. And then also the whole idea of the main character that is able to sort of pull people out of the darkness, out of the pits.
That would be a good extra dimension for Akane, because it wouldn't be the thing where she's the girl that saves the guy.
Right.
It would be it's her presence, her persona, that brings the best out of everyone. Yeah. Exactly.
And they've already... I think that might be the case, because they established that in the very first episode.
With Masaoka.
Well, sure.
Kind of.
Well, okay, I wasn't thinking Masaoka. I was thinking of the girl.
Oh, yes.
Right? So,
Good point,
if you
Jacob.
follow the
Well
rules that the
played.
stuff introduced earlier is more important, right, than the stuff introduced later,
That's always how it is
Like-
in stories. Yep.
then that could be very much a thing moving forward.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's a great point. Because they haven't done that again since the first episode.
No, they haven't. Which means it's probably going to be an overarching thing, right?
Exactly. Oh, that's good. Okay, so since we've been through this series a little bit so far, it's episode 6, where do you see this series going? What's some theories you have?
So
I gave one of my crackpot theories, so let's not discuss it. I would love to hear your theories.
Well, for one, just from a structure of the show perspective, I think it's going to start veering away from the episodic nature, which we've already shown, because this wasn't a
it's already
self-contained
happening.
episode.
Yeah.
But I think it will go into a full-blown linear, Code Geass style, where
Thriller.
thriller. Every episode builds off
Cliffhangers every
the
episode kind of thing. Sure.
Now,
what about some actual theories, though, that require a little bit of maneuvering in order to make
so
happen?
A whole bunch of people are going to die, right? From around Akane,
named characters,
right? And I think, one of the main things about the villain, it's common for a villain to be very almost overly interested in the main character,
which I don't see happening here actually.
Well,
right now.
but I could see them doing it in a way that actually works, since he has shown that interest in people up to this point in individuals. He could show that same interest in Akane, and as the people around her die, he's basically seeing how she responds, if maybe she's like him. But again, as for what his specific plan is with all these people, who knows?
There's so many things they could do, but the more and more I hear him talk, this is the kind of guy who wants his message to be heard.
Yes.
He's not the kind of person that's going to blow up a massive thing or destroy a thing or kill a person to be his end-all goal. That's Kogami. That's Kogami, if anything.
Sure.
And in fact, they're kind of drawing some interesting kind of connections with Kogami being effectively like that antagonist, that one that I will defeat the person at any cost.
Right.
And that is kind of a generic cop thing to do for a protagonist.
But I feel like they're just establishing that so they can grow him past that.
But it also seems like they're going to be flaunting the idea of Kogami not being fully with Akane throughout this series.
So you think there could come a point where they end up... Oh, that's brilliant. You know why?
Why?
So, well, there's probably a ton of reasons for it, but also it falls in line with the other thing I was saying. Stuff introduced early on is stuff that's more important later on.
Yeah.
What else happened in the very first episode that was directly tied to Akane having a good influence on the people around her?
Yeah.
She shot Kogami because he wasn't willing to think about stuff like that. What if the reason Makishima is so liked as a villain is because he's actually able to win over the protagonist, and Kogami can't sit in it, like he can't go along with it?
Yep. That's gonna be awesome. I mean, now that we're saying it, I'm seeing the little dots connect in my head, and I like it, and I think this show is that kind of a show.
Yeah, because it has been totally surprising us, as the episodes come out. I did not expect there would be something like this. Last episode, I did not expect.
Last episode was fantastic. So far, that's the best episode in the whole show. Hands down, as much as we've seen.
Yeah.
But given this one is kind of a part 1 of 2, I feel like we have to evaluate this one with the next one, which gets me even more excited, because
that means it'll either be a 2-parter or it'll go into
a linear story. Yeah, which just gets me really hyped. So
he really likes those.
Oh, I really like them. All right, so I think that's enough for now.
Yeah.
I really liked the Kagari and Akane real life kind of sitting around cooking food and drinking alcohol and
absolutely.
Real life juxtaposed against the work life.
Yes.
Just kind of hard stuff they have to go through. it's needed. It's very important because
Absolutely.
the setting changes, the interactions change, the context is layered. So thank you, Psychopath, for giving us that scene. I loved it. I loved it with Masaoka painting with Akane. Oh, that's interesting. Painting in that one as a visual, and now we have this in this one. I see what they're doing there.
But
a little bit of parallels.
Yeah, but that was an excellent point you made about the whole thing of them cooking, because that doesn't happen in a lot of stories because it takes up screen time.
Yep.
But things like that, that's what make the world feel more real.
It makes us care about the characters
and
more,
it makes
too.
us care about the characters more.
Yep.
Because if you just see them, stopping bad guys, or you just show the sci-fi world, you are disconnected from it because life isn't like that.
Exactly. All right, guys, this was a fantastic episode, but we're gonna call it for now, and then see you again next week. Until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.